welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. I get the call at 11:42 p.m. A man's voice, shaking, ragged, says he's lost on a road he's driven every day for years. This isn't right, he stammers. The turn should have been back there, but there's just more trees. I try to calm him, ask for landmarks. He rattles off familiar ones, names I know by heart. But then, there's no houses, he whispers. No streetlights, just forest. I sit up in my chair. Dispatch is quiet tonight. Just me, a slow scanner, and the faint hum of overhead fluorescence. Stay on the line, I tell him, checking my maps. Tell me exactly where you are. He fumbles with his phone, breathing heavy. The sound of his turn signal clicks steadily in the background. Should be near the gas station, he says. But it's not here. Silence. Then lower, the trees. Static. Ici straight. Tap my screen. The call is still connected. Sir? Are you there? A whisper. Faint but clear. They're moving, then nothing. Deputy Owens is the one who finds the car, parked dead center of where the road should be. Instead, the asphalt ends abruptly. The rest gone, like it was never there. Just trees. Thick, ancient. The kind that don't belong in a rural town like ours. I stand beside Owens, staring at the tire marks. The car door is open. No signs of a struggle. No footprints leading away. Just emptiness. The driver is gone. Hell happened here? Owens mutters. I shake my head. My radio crackles with chatter from other units. Nobody has an answer. The trees loom, silent, unmoving, but something about them feels wrong. The official report is useless. Missing person. Vehicle found. No evidence of foul play, but how do you explain a road just disappearing? I replay the call in my head, over and over. The way his voice changed at the end. The way he whispered, like he didn't want something to hear him. I stare at my computer screen, scrolling through satellite images. The road is there, clear as day, but out there in the real world, just trees. I make a note to check again tomorrow. Maybe I missed something. Maybe it's a trick of the light. Maybe I don't sleep that night. Morning comes. I drive out to where we found the car. The trees are closer. I know how that sounds. Impossible. Paranoid. But I swear they weren't this close yesterday. The town doesn't seem to notice. Or maybe they just don't care. A missing person is nothing new. People vanish all the time. I check my phone. No new reports. No updates. Just silence. But as I turn to leave, something catches my eye. A shape, deep in the tree line. Too still. Too tall. Watching. I blink. It's gone. That night, another call comes in. A woman, voice trembling. My backyard, she says. The trees weren't this close before. I sit up. Ma'am, could you repeat that? She hesitates. Listen, I know how this sounds, but I swear they're closer. I can see the branches through my window. They weren't there yesterday. I type as she speaks. Have you noticed anything else unusual? Pause. She whispers. I think they're moving. The line goes dead. I grab my keys. I pull up to the house at 9:34 p.m. It's an old one, 2 stories, paint peeling under the porch light. A woman stands at the door, arms wrapped around herself. She doesn't wave, just watches as I step out of the cruiser. She looks nervous, tired. I know that look, like she's already second-guessing herself. Ma'am, I say, nodding. You called about the trees? She flinches, looks past me into the yard. They're closer. Her voice is flat, like she's resigned to it. I follow her gaze. The backyard is a stretch of patchy grass leading into a dense tree line. First, it looks normal, just trees. But then I see it, the earth around them looks wrong, disrupted, like something heavy shifted. How close were they before? Ask. She hugs herself tighter. At least 20 feet further back. I nod slowly, stepping toward the grass. The wind is still. No rustling, no movement. Just a heavy, unnatural silence. I kneel, brushing my fingers over the dirt. It's soft, like the ground was overturned recently, like the trees were dug up and moved. I swallow. Something about this feels off. Ma'am, I say carefully. Do you have any security cameras? She shakes her head. Just the doorbell cam. Not helpful. I scan the tree line again, feeling that same unease from the other night. The trees look wrong. Not because they've moved, though that's bad enough, but because they don't belong. They're the wrong type. Bark too dark. Leaves too thick. These aren't the same trees that used to be here. Have you noticed anything else? Ask. She hesitates. My dog won't go near them. That stops me cold. She points toward the porch, where a golden retriever sits, ears pinned back, tail tucked. I let him out earlier, and he just froze, stared at the trees. Then he started whining and ran back inside. She shudders. He's never done that before. I watch the dog. He doesn't bark, doesn't growl, just sits there, staring at the woods with his body drawn tight like a spring. He knows something I don't. I stand up. I'll file a report, but if anything else happens, call me. She nods. But we both know there's nothing I can do. Nothing that makes sense. I glance at the trees one last time before heading back to my cruiser. The woman watches from her porch as I pull away. She doesn't go inside. The next morning, my inbox is full. 3 more reports. All different locations. The trees are moving. One man says his driveway is smaller. Another swears the trees outside his window weren't there yesterday. A third refuses to go into his backyard at all. I drive through town, checking each location. The stories are the same. The trees are shifting, slowly, quietly, but no one sees them move. I stop by the diner for coffee, hoping to clear my head. The place is half empty. The usual morning crowd murmurs over plates of eggs and toast. A few old-timers chat by the window. I sit at the counter. The waitress, Maria, pours my coffee without asking. You hear about the trees? She asks. I pause, hand on the mug. Yeah, she shakes her head. Weird stuff. Folks keep saying they're waking up to different yards. Like the woods are growing overnight. I sip my coffee. It's too bitter. You ever seen anything like this before? She snorts. I've lived here 40 years. Only thing that moves on its own is the tumbleweed. She walks off before I can ask more. The bell above the door jingles. I glance up as a man walks in, Sheriff Doyle. He spots me, nods, then makes his way over. You busy? He asks. Not really. I gesture to my coffee. Just thinking. He exhales sharply, leaning against the counter. Got a call from the mayor this morning. People are starting to panic. I frown. Panic? He nods. You've seen the reports. Roads disappearing. Houses getting swallowed up. He rubs his temple. Hell, I checked the county maps. Some of those roads don't even exist anymore. A chill runs down my spine. What do you mean? I mean, he mutters. It's like they were never there. I set my coffee down. I checked an old case file, Doyle continues. Hit the GPS coordinates for that missing guy, the one who vanished last week. But the system flagged it as an invalid location. My throat goes dry. It was a road, I whisper. I saw it. We found his car there. Doyle meets my eyes. Not anymore. The diner feels colder. By sunset, the first emergency alert goes out. I'm at the station when the notification buzzes through my phone. A monotone voice crackles over the speakers. This is a public safety announcement. Residents are advised to avoid heavily wooded areas until further notice. Report any unusual tree growth or landscape changes to local authorities. No explanation, no cause, just vague warnings. Outside, The trees loom over the streets. Their branches twist in the wind, casting shadows over the pavement. I stare at my reflection in the window. I don't know why, but I feel like something is watching me. Something old, something patient, and it's getting closer. The next morning, I drive out to the northern edge of town. I barely recognize it. Where there should be a stretch of farmland, there's now a dense wall of trees. The road, once a long, winding path leading out toward the next county, is gone. Just swallowed. I pull over, step out of my cruiser. The air smells off. Damp earth, rot, like the forest is breathing. I walk forward, boots sinking slightly into the dirt. The ground is uneven, like something big shifted underneath. I place my hand against the bark of the nearest tree. Feels warm. Something rustles deeper in the woods. A slow, deliberate movement. I step back. I don't run, but I don't linger either. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I feel like it's looking for me. By noon, the calls are nonstop. The trees are blocking roads now. Main streets, side roads, entire intersections just gone overnight. A construction crew reports that half their equipment is buried under roots that weren't there the day before. The town is shrinking. The sheriff calls an emergency meeting. Inside the station, officers and local officials gather in the briefing room, faces tight with unease. Doyle stands at the front, arms crossed. "This isn't normal," he says, voice even. "It's not overgrowth, it's not flooding. And it sure as hell isn't a coincidence." A man near the back scoffs. "You're telling me the trees are moving? That's crazy." Doyle doesn't blink. "Then explain the missing roads." Silence. Nobody can. I clear my throat. "What about the satellite maps?" We all turn to Sergeant Hughes. He's been tracking the changes. His laptop is open on the table, a grainy overhead view of the town displayed on the screen. He hesitates. "That's the thing," he says. "The maps haven't changed." I frown. "What do you mean?" My stomach turns. "But we can see it." Doyle nods grimly. "Which means either the maps are wrong," he looks at us, "or we are." That night, another emergency alert goes out. "Warning, do not travel at night. Avoid wooded areas. If you experience landscape changes, remain indoors." The message repeats. No further details. I sit in my car, listening to the robotic voice cycle through the same phrases. Over and over, my phone vibrates. A text from Owens. "Meet me at the construction site. Urgent." I don't hesitate. The construction site is on the outskirts of town. Or at least it was. I park beside Owens' cruiser, headlights cutting through the thick fog rolling in from the trees. He stands near a half-buried bulldozer, flashlight in hand. His face is pale. "What the hell is this?" he mutters. I follow his beam of light. My chest tightens. The entire site is being consumed. Half-built structures strangled by vines. Equipment sunken into the dirt. The skeletal frame of a building. Once the foundation of a new shopping plaza. Now nothing but warped beams, cracking under the pressure of roots growing through them, like the forest is taking it back. "This wasn't here yesterday," Owens says, voice tight. "I was here. It was just dirt and concrete." Something creaks deep in the woods. A low, groaning sound, wood bending, shifting. We both freeze. The fog thickens. Our flashlights flicker. For a split second, I swear I see something move between the trees. Tall, watching. A branch snaps. I grab Owen's arm. "We need to go." We don't look back. Back at the station, I pore over every missing person report from the last 10 years. There's a pattern. People have always disappeared near the woods. Hikers, campers, even locals just walking home at night. Most were written off. Animal attacks, getting lost, running away. But now, I check old maps. I compare them to the town's current layout, and I see it. The town isn't just shrinking, it's changing. Roads that used to lead out don't anymore. Houses that once sat near open fields are now pressed against walls of trees. And worst of all, the oldest cases, the people who vanished decades ago, they disappeared on streets that don't exist anymore. The sheriff orders a town-wide lockdown, curfew in place. No unnecessary travel. Everyone on high alert, but it's too late, because something is happening to the people now. The next morning, Owens doesn't show up to roll call. His car is found abandoned outside his house. Engine running, driver's side door open, but no sign of him. His radio is still in the seat. When I pick it up, it crackles to life, just static at first, then a whisper, faint. But I recognize the voice. They're here, a sharp breath, then lower, almost pleading. Don't let them take you too. The radio cuts out. I look up, outside the station. Beyond the streetlights and sidewalks and rows of houses, the trees are closer. Owens is gone. His house is untouched. No signs of a struggle. No blood, no broken locks, nothing. Just his empty car sitting in the driveway, keys still in the ignition. Like he stepped out for a second, like he planned to come back, but he didn't, and I don't think he ever will. By noon, half the town knows about Owens' disappearance. Rumors spread fast. Some say he ran off. Others think he was taken. The truth is worse, because when I check the security footage from a nearby traffic camera, I see him. 11:43 p.m. Owens steps out of his car, looking toward the trees. He's talking into his radio. His body language is tense, like he's hearing something that isn't there. Then the footage glitches, just for a second. A flicker of static, a distortion in the feed. And when it clears, he's gone. Not like he ran. Not like he was dragged away. He just vanished. And behind where he stood, something is different. The trees, they're closer. The sheriff orders another emergency meeting. Everyone is on edge. We need outside help, Hughes says, arms crossed. State police, the National Guard, hell, even FEMA. We can't handle this alone. Doyle is silent for a long moment. Then he exhales. I already tried. I frown. What? He meets my gaze. I called for backup this morning. State police said they'd send a team. His jaw tightens. They never arrived. The room falls silent. Could be the roads, another officer suggests, but the words sound hollow, because we all know, if they got too close, they aren't coming. By evening, the emergency alert system goes off again. This time, the message is longer. Warning, do not enter the woods. Avoid tree-lined streets. If you see movement in the trees, leave immediately. Do not investigate sounds. Do not answer voices calling from the woods. They are not your loved ones. The words sit heavy in my chest. I don't sleep that night. At dawn, I patrol the outskirts of town. It's worse than yesterday. Entire streets are missing. Not blocked. Not overgrown. Just gone. Houses that once sat at the end of long cul-de-sacs now open directly into dense forest. Businesses that were near the main road are pressed up against a wall of gnarled branches and shifting bark. A gas station, one I used to stop at every morning, is just gone, like it was never there. The asphalt is cracked where the lot used to be. Weeds and moss cover what's left. The pumps are missing. The building is missing, like the forest swallowed it whole. I turn back toward town, and then I hear it, a voice, faint, carried on the wind. Help me. I freeze. It's Owens. I know it's impossible. I know he's gone, but I hear him. Please. It's so dark. It's coming from the woods. I grip my radio. Owens. My voice is tight. Is that you? Silence. Then, don't follow the voices. The signal cuts out. I look at the trees, at the shifting shadows beyond the branches. I don't go in. Instead, I turn and drive back to the station, heart hammering in my chest. By noon, more people are missing. Not just Owens. 12 people gone without a trace. Some disappeared from their homes, others from the streets. One woman was last seen walking her dog. Her husband turned away for seconds, and when he looked back, she was gone. The only thing left behind, the leash, still clipped, like the dog was walking nothing. The town is in chaos. People are panicking now. Those who haven't left are barricading their homes, staying inside. Every street is quieter than it should be. Fewer cars, fewer lights in windows, like the town itself is emptying out. And I realize something. People aren't just leaving, they're being erased. That night, I get a call from Hughes. Meet me at City Hall, he says. His voice is low. Now, I don't ask questions. I go. When I arrive, he's already waiting. His laptop is open. He looks up. I checked the records again. He gestures for me to look at the screen. I lean in. It's a map, not of the town now, but old maps, some dating back over 100 years. I don't understand what I'm looking at. Then Hughes clicks through them one by one, and my blood runs cold, because with each map, the town is smaller. Every decade, more streets vanish. More buildings disappear, and worst of all, the names of the missing people fade too. Not just from police records, from everything. Census reports, newspaper archives, even family trees. It's like they were never here at all. I take a step back. My head is spinning. We've been looking at this the wrong way, Hughes says, voice hollow. It's not just the trees moving. It's not just the land shifting. His hands shake as he grips the laptop. It's reality itself. I stare at him. Outside, the wind howls. The branches scrape against the windows, deep and slow, like fingernails, like something waiting to get in. I don't remember my neighbor's name. That's the first thing I notice. I wake up groggy, the weight of the past few days pressing into me like wet cement. And when I step outside for air, I realize something is missing. The house across the street, the woman who lived there, middle-aged, always smiled when she watered her garden. She had a name, didn't she? I knew her. I saw her yesterday. Now the lot is empty. The space where her house stood is nothing but dirt and weeds. No foundation, no rubble, like it was never there at all. I try to picture her face. It's gone. I speed to the station. It's worse than yesterday. Hughes is waiting for me, looking like he hasn't slept. He shoves a stack of files into my hands. Check the records again. I do. More names are missing, not just the ones from last night. People who were here last week. Officers I worked with. Shop owners, delivery drivers, the guy who ran the hardware store. I stare at my own case notes from Owen's disappearance. His name isn't in them. The file is still there, the details of the night, the missing footage, but his name is blank. Like I never wrote it down. Like I never knew it. I drop the papers, my hands shaking. How is this happening? My voice barely works. Hughes doesn't answer. He's looking past me, out the station window. I turn, and my stomach drops. The trees are closer, not just the outskirts anymore. Downtown, the main street, the gas station, the post office. It's all pressed against a wall of shifting bark and twisting branches. The town is shrinking. The forest is devouring it. I back away. The trees shift, slow, deliberate, like breathing. I don't know if it's the wind or if they're moving on their own. But then I see it. Something standing between the trees. Not a person, not even close. It's tall. Wrong. I can't make out details, only the vague suggestion of limbs that aren't quite limbs and a face that isn't a face at all. A shape where a person should be. Watching, waiting. I blink. It's gone. I don't tell Hughes what I saw, because the last person to follow something into the woods never came back. By noon, half the town is gone. Not just missing, erased. The diner where we used to eat on night shifts, gone. The library, gone. The fire station, gone. No debris, no wreckage. Just empty spaces. Dirt and weeds and silence. I drive to my childhood home. It isn't there. My hands clench the wheel. I try to remember the color of the front door. The way the sun hit the roof in summer. The tree in the backyard I used to climb. But it's fading. Like an old photograph left in the sun too long. Like it was never real. The emergency alert system goes off again. This time, the message is different. If you can read this, leave. If you can still remember, run. I grip the radio. Dispatch. This is Officer Reynolds. My voice is shaking. Who sent that? Silence. Then static. Then, you don't have much time. The signal dies. I slam the radio down. Hughes is staring at the message. His face is pale. We have to get out, he whispers. I don't argue. We pack what we can. Guns, radios, files, whatever records still exist. Then we get in my car. We head for the highway. It's gone. Not blocked. Not overgrown. Just gone. The road stops abruptly at the edge of town, vanishing into an endless wall of trees. Like the asphalt was never there. Like the world beyond town never existed. Hughes grips the dash. No, this isn't real. He jumps out, stumbles forward. I don't move because I see it again. The thing in the trees, closer this time, watching, waiting, like it wants us to try, like it's letting us realize there's no way out. I grab Hughes and pull him back. We can't leave, I say. He stares at me wild-eyed. Then what do we do? I don't have an answer, but I know one thing. We won't last much longer. Not when the trees are still moving. Not when the town is still vanishing. And not when we're next. Hughes doesn't speak as we drive back. There's nowhere else to go. The highway is gone. The road ends where the trees begin, their roots splitting through the pavement like they were always there. We didn't turn back because we wanted to. We turned back because there was no choice, because the forest decided we couldn't leave. The station is smaller than I remember, not physically. The building is the same, but the space around it is wrong. Like the edges of the town are closing in. I count the streets leading out, for there were 6 this morning. 2 are just missing now. The buildings that line them are gone, replaced with empty dirt lots. I can't even picture what used to be there. Hughes rubs his temples. He's breathing too fast. We need to, he swallows. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't, but reality doesn't care what makes sense anymore. I try to call for help. Cell service, gone. Landlines, dead. Radios, you have to listen. Not much time, just static and voices that aren't quite voices, lost between the frequencies. One of them says my name, then the line goes silent. By nightfall, the town is even smaller. It happens in pieces. One moment something is there, the next it isn't. Hughes and I stand in the middle of what used to be Main Street, watching the lights in the distance vanish. The grocery store, the school, the auto shop, their buildings don't collapse. They don't decay. They just cease to exist, like they were never there to begin with. Hughes grabs my arm. What happens when it reaches us? I don't answer, because I already know. The emergency alert system activates again. It shouldn't. The town's infrastructure is falling apart, the power grid barely functioning. But the alert still plays, crackling, warped, the voice on the other end barely human. Do not look for what is missing. Do not speak of who is gone. Do not acknowledge the changes. Hughes grips the edge of the desk. Jesus Christ, the voice continues. If you can still remember, if you know what was here, run. I turn off the radio. We can't run. There's nowhere left to go. We decide to stay in the station. The power is unstable, but the generator might last another night. The armory has supplies. If we barricade the entrances, maybe... No, I don't finish the thought, because I know it won't matter. Nothing will. At some point, I fall asleep. I don't mean to, but exhaustion wins. When I wake, Hughes is gone. I find him outside, standing in the middle of the street, staring at something I can't see. Hughes, he doesn't turn. His mouth is moving, whispering. I step closer. He's repeating something under his breath. Over and over, I recognize the names. People who are gone. People the town has erased. Hughes, his whole body jerks. Then he turns to me. His eyes are wide. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. He freezes like something is holding him in place, and then he's gone. I don't mean that he ran. I don't mean that he left. I mean, 1 second he was there. The next he wasn't. I stumble back, my breath ragged. I can still hear his voice in my head. The names he was saying. Names I almost forgot. I squeeze my eyes shut. I don't say them. I don't acknowledge them, because now I know. That's what it wants. The moment you speak of what was lost, you join it. I don't go back inside. The station is empty now. Everything feels empty, like I'm the only thing left. Like the town isn't just disappearing. It's unraveling. The world outside is silent. No wind, no animals, no signs of life at all. Just the trees, shifting, waiting. I step into the street. The buildings around me flicker. I can see it happening now. They don't just vanish all at once. They blur first, like they're being forgotten in real time. I hold my breath. I don't move. I don't think about what's missing, because the second I do, a streetlight nearby blinks out of existence. I don't look at it. I don't acknowledge it. I keep walking, because I have no other choice. And because I already know, if I stop moving, if I hesitate for even a second, I'll be next. I keep walking. The town is silent. Not the kind of silence that comes late at night when the world is asleep, Not the kind that comes after a storm when everything is still. This is absolute silence. No wind, no echoes, no sound at all. I hear my own heartbeat, my own breathing, too loud in the emptiness around me. The air is thick, pressing against my skin like something tangible, like something watching. I don't stop. I don't let myself think, because the second I acknowledge what's missing, it will take more. I pass the market, or what's left of it. The sign is still there. The doorway still stands, but the rest of it is fading. The roof is half gone, like a forgotten memory in mid-erasure. The shelves inside are a blur, flickering in and out of focus. I don't look inside. I don't think about what used to be here, because I know if I do, the rest of it will vanish too. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I have to keep moving. I pass more buildings. Less of them remain. The street narrows. It used to be wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic. Now it's barely big enough for a sidewalk. Like the town is shrinking, pulling in on itself, dissolving piece by piece. And then I see it, a street sign, not one of ours. It's standing at the corner of what used to be a bank. The words are unreadable, twisted symbols that aren't part of any language I know. My stomach clenches. It wasn't here before. Nothing should be appearing. Everything should be vanishing. So why is something new taking its place? I step back. The ground shifts beneath me. Not an earthquake. Not something natural. The street, the pavement itself is moving. Like something underneath is changing the layout of the town. I don't stay to watch. I turn and run. I pass more things that shouldn't exist. A mailbox I've never seen before, rusted and half sunken into the street. A lamp post that twists at an unnatural angle, as if reaching toward me. A storefront with no door, just a gaping black hole where the entrance should be. The town isn't just disappearing. Something is replacing it. Something that doesn't belong. I make it to the station, or what's left of it. The sign is gone. The walls are wrong, too smooth, too clean, like they've never been touched by human hands. The front door is open. I don't go inside, because I know what I'll find. Nothing, or worse, something I don't understand. Something watching me back. The emergency alert system crackles to life again. My blood turns to ice. I didn't touch the radio. I didn't turn it on, but it plays anyway. A voice that isn't human. A voice that isn't even close. It's not distorted like before. It's clear now, too clear, like it's coming from inside my own head. Do not run. Do not hide. There is nowhere left to go. I stare at the radio. My hands clench into fists. I want to turn it off. I want to smash it, but I don't, because I know deep down, it's not a warning anymore. It's a fact. The town is almost gone now. The streets are narrower. The sky is darker, though the sun hasn't set. The buildings left standing are twisting into shapes they shouldn't be able to take. The rules are changing. I don't think this is my town anymore. I don't think it ever was. And then I see someone, a shape, standing at the end of the street. I freeze, because I know that silhouette. Hughes, he's back. Or something that looks like him. I don't move. The thing wearing his face doesn't either. It just stands there, arms at its sides, staring at me from the end of the block. But it's wrong. The proportions off. The head tilted just a little too far. The fingers too long. And its eyes, not Hughes' eyes, not anyone's, just holes where they should be. Empty, like something unfinished, like something that's still being created. I take a slow step back, takes a step forward. I stop. It stops. My breath is shallow. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know if it knows what it is yet, either. But it's waiting for something. For me? For the town to be gone completely? For the change to finish? I don't know, and I don't want to. I turn. I don't run. I walk, because if I acknowledge it, if I react, that might be what it wants. I take careful steps, one after another. I don't look back, even when I hear it start moving again. Even when I hear the soft, wet sound of bare feet against pavement. Even when I realize it's following me. The streets are disappearing. I'm running out of town, running out of time. There's nothing left but me, the shadows stretching in ways they shouldn't, and the thing behind me that thinks it used to be Hughes. I keep moving, because I have to, because I don't know what happens if I stop, and because, deep down, I think I already know how this ends. I don't stop. The streets are gone. What's left beneath my feet isn't pavement anymore. It's smooth, seamless, not natural, not man-made either, just there. The buildings are changing, twisting into shapes that don't make sense, stretching upward, like they're growing, like they're breathing. And behind me, footsteps, Hughes but not Hughes, the thing wearing his shape. It doesn't speak, doesn't make a sound except for the slow, deliberate steps, following, like it's waiting for something, like it's learning. I don't know what happens when it learns enough, and I don't want to. The air is thick, too thick. I can feel it pressing against me, like walking through water, like walking through something alive. I force myself forward. I don't look back, because if I look, I'll see what's really behind me, and I don't think I can handle that. The sky is wrong. No stars, no clouds, no color at all, just a vast, empty nothing. Like the town was carved out of a space that was never meant to exist. And now something else is filling in the blanks. I pass what used to be the fire station, or what's replaced it. It's not a building anymore, just a tall, narrow shape. No doors, no windows, but I feel something inside it, something watching. I don't stop, I don't go in, I keep walking. The sound of footsteps behind me changes, slower, closer, like it's closing the gap, like it's getting faster. I pick up my pace, not running, not yet, just faster. But the thing behind me matches, step for step. I don't know what it wants, what it's waiting for, but I can't be here when it decides. I reach the intersection where the gas station used to be. It's not there anymore. Nothing is, just an endless stretch of something else, something new. And I don't know if I can step onto it and still be me, but I don't have a choice. There's nothing left behind me, no roads, no houses, just the thing in Hughes' shape, and a town that's disappearing. I take a breath, step forward, and the ground gives, not collapsing, not falling, shifting, like I just stepped into a world that hasn't been finished yet, like the town is redrawing itself around me. I fight against it, keep moving. The thing behind me moves too, but something's different. It's not just following now, it's changing. I can feel it, the way the air thickens even more, the way the space around me tilts, like gravity is bending to accommodate something new, something that's never existed before now. I force myself forward, faster, faster than the pull of whatever's trying to rewrite me. And then the radio crackles again, the emergency alert system. I don't touch it, I don't have to. It's inside me now. The signal isn't coming from a tower anymore. It's coming from the town itself. And the town isn't real anymore. It never was. Stop moving. Let it finish. The words dig into my skull, searing hot, drilling into my thoughts. I grit my teeth. I don't listen, because I know if I do, I won't exist anymore. Not as me, not as anything I'd recognize. Keep going. I reach the edge of town, or what's left of it. Nothing but a thin, flickering line. Beyond it, nothing. Just an expanse of shifting, living space, waiting to be filled. I don't know if there's a way out. I don't know if there ever was. But I take one last breath, and I step forward. Behind me, the footsteps stop. The thing that isn't Hughes pauses, and for the first time, speaks. A sound that isn't a voice. Not words, just a fractured, broken echo. A sound I recognize. My own voice, repeating something I don't remember saying. Something that feels like it was stolen from me. And then, silence. I don't look back. I don't have to, because I know. Whatever is behind me isn't waiting anymore. It's already done. And the town is gone. But I'm still here. I don't know where here is. I don't know what's left of me. But the rules are different now. There is no town, no streets, no map for this. Just an endless, shifting space, waiting for something to fill it. And deep down, I know that something is me. The moment I step forward, I know this place isn't empty. It only looks that way. Beneath the surface, beneath everything, something else is watching, waiting. For what? For me? I keep moving, not because I have a plan, not because I know where I'm going, but because if I stop, if I stand still for too long, I might become part of this place. And I don't think I'll ever leave. The world doesn't move the way it should. The space around me bends and twists, pulsing like something alive. I don't trust the ground beneath me. Every step feels off, like I'm not the one deciding where I go, like the space is pulling me along, like I've already stepped into something I can't escape. I don't turn around, I don't check if the thing in Hughes' shape is still behind me, because I don't feel it anymore. I feel something else. It starts small, a sound, soft, distant, like something breathing. I freeze, hold my breath, try to listen, but it's everywhere, like the whole world is exhaling. I swallow hard and keep moving, because I know one thing for certain: I'm not alone here. I focus on walking, but my feet don't make a sound. Not against this ground. Not anymore. Like the world is swallowing the noise. Like it's swallowing me. I don't like that thought. I don't like any of this. I keep moving. Faster. The sound follows. That long, slow breath. Like something huge is just out of sight. Something massive. I don't know what's worse. Not knowing where I am. Or knowing that I'm not alone. Then a whisper. Not mine. Not Hughes. Something older. Something that feels woven into this place. It doesn't speak in words. Speaks in meaning. You're not supposed to be here. A warning. Or something else. I don't answer. I don't want it to notice me, if it hasn't already. But I think it has. The space shifts. I feel it. Like something huge is moving just beneath the surface. Like the whole world just took a step forward. And I took one with it. Not on purpose. Not by choice. Like the place itself is deciding where I go. Like I was never walking on my own. The thought makes me sick. Then something else changes. A flicker, just for a second. A shape in the distance. A silhouette, tall, thin, still, watching. I freeze. It doesn't move, but I know it sees me. And then it breathes. Not air, not like we do, but something deeper. Something I feel in my bones. Something that shakes the space around me. And in that moment, I understand. The town was just the beginning. I take a step back. The shape doesn't follow. It doesn't have to, because the ground is still moving beneath me, pulling me forward, pulling me toward it. I don't know what's worse, that it wants me closer, or that I might not be able to stop it. Another flicker, more shapes, dozens, hundreds, not moving, just watching, like I'm the only thing here that isn't supposed to be, or like I'm the only thing that hasn't changed yet. Yet, I hate that word. I hate the way it sticks in my head, because it means something is still coming. Something worse. The whisper again. You can't leave. This time I speak. I don't mean to. The words just come out. Why? I don't expect an answer, but I get one. A laugh. Low. Hollow. Not human. Not anything. And then the whisper again. Because you were never supposed to leave. The ground shifts again. Something is coming up from beneath. Something huge. The air gets thicker. I can feel the space closing in. Like a door that was always meant to shut. Like I was always meant to stay. I turn, run, or try, but the world won't let me. My legs move, but I don't go anywhere. Like I'm sinking into something else. Like I'm already part of it. And the moment I understand that, the shapes start moving. Not walking, not running. Something else. Something wrong. Like glitches in reality. Flickering closer, faster. I squeeze my eyes shut. Try to ignore it, try to pretend it's not happening. But then, a hand, on my shoulder, cold, too cold, not Hughes, not human, and a voice, right against my ear, soft, too soft. You were supposed to change, and I finally understand. The trees weren't moving, not the way I thought. The town wasn't changing, not by itself. Everything was just a reflection of something bigger, something deeper, something waiting beneath. And now it's awake. Now it sees me. Now it knows what I am. And it knows I am still something that can be changed. The hand on my shoulder tightens. It shouldn't feel real. Not in this place. Not after everything I've seen. But it does. Too real. Like it belongs to something that's been here long before me. Like it's always been waiting. I don't turn around. I don't want to see. But I don't think I have a choice. The world bends. Like a breath inhaled too deep. The air grows heavier, thicker, like it's pressing down, pushing me further in. I try to step back, try to pull away, but my body doesn't listen. The shape behind me won't let go. Neither will the ground. Neither will the space itself. I'm not standing on anything solid. I never was. I squeeze my eyes shut. I don't want to see, because I understand now. This place, it isn't just changing. It's not just the trees, not just the town. It's everything. Every inch of it is alive. Every inch of it is becoming something else. And so am I. The whisper returns, right against my ear. The breath is too cold. The voice is too soft. Not meant to be heard with ears. Meant to be felt in the bones. You were always meant to stay. I force my eyes open. The town is gone. Or maybe it was never here. What's left is wrong. The shapes, the ones that flickered before, they're closer now. No longer shadows. No longer just outlines. They're human-shaped, but they aren't human. Not anymore. I think I know why. I think I know what they used to be. And I think if I stay here any longer, I'll become one of them. My breath shakes. I can still move. Not freely, not entirely, but just enough. Enough to fight back. Or at least enough to try. I twist my body, lurch away from the hand on my shoulder. It doesn't stop me. Not immediately. It lets me take one step. And then the world shifts. The ground disappears. No, not the ground. The space itself. Like it was never meant to hold me up. Like I was always meant to fall. And I do. Plummet. But not down. Not the way I should. The fall doesn't end. The world keeps stretching, opening, unfolding, like it's swallowing me whole. And I realize this isn't a fall. This is something else. Something worse. I'm being pulled deeper. I'm being taken in. I was never meant to leave. I was never meant to be separate. I was always meant to be part of this place. My body twists. I reach for something, anything, but there's nothing to grab. Just the empty space. Just the shifting air. Just the shapes. Those things. Watching. Waiting. Still. Patient. Because they already know how this ends. The voice speaks again. Not in words. Not really. But in meaning. And I understand. I was wrong before. The trees. They weren't moving. They were never just trees. They were roots. Veins. Connected to something vast. Something ancient. Something that was always here. And it's been pulling everything into itself. Changing everything. Not just the town. Not just the people. But the world itself. Everything we thought was separate. It was only ever one thing. And now it wants me to be part of it. I don't want to know what that means. But I do. Because I can feel it happening. Inside. Beneath the skin. The bones. It's sinking in. Unraveling me. Folding me into something else. I can still think, for now. But soon I won't. Soon I won't be anything at all. Just another shape. Just another whisper in the trees. I try to fight. To resist. But how do you fight a place? How do you fight something that was never separate from you? I think that's the trick. That's the truth. It's not changing me. It's just making me remember what I always was. What I was always meant to be. And the moment I understand that, I stop falling. I open my eyes. I am standing. Not in the woods. Not in the town. Somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. The shapes are gone. Or maybe I can't see them anymore. Or maybe I am one of them now. The whisper speaks one last time. And this time I accept it. Because it's not a whisper at all. It's just the sound of the world breathing. I don't move. I don't need to. I understand now. I was never lost. I was never meant to leave. I was always meant to stay. And I was always meant to become. The trees were never moving. I was, and now finally, I don't have to move anymore.